Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Riches. Tonight I'll be going through the week's papers with Paul Fisher, editor of the Market Raisin Mail, the Louth and Mablethorpe Leaders and the Horncastle News. But first it's over to James Dunn for the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, local councils want you to ask yourself if you're a good neighbour during Noise Awareness Week, and local residents flock to see museums at night. 2/3 of people are affected by noisy neighbours and 1 million a year move because of it. That's why people across the region are being asked to consider if they're good neighbours as part of Noise Awareness Week starting today. North Lincolnshire Council has had more than 1,800 noise complaints over the last 2 years, and North East Lincolnshire Council have had more than 200 in just the last 12 months. Earlier this month, Jordan Funnell of Comer Place in Grimsby had to pay out more than £600 for twice breaching a noise abatement notice served in November. And John Weighton, North East Lincolnshire Council's enforcement officer, said that noise complaints generally rise in the summer months when evenings are lighter, warmer, and people spend more time in their gardens and with windows open.
It's seriously detrimental to most people's lives, and anyone that suffered it will know what I'm talking about. But it's quite simple. Once we've gone through our process, once we've established it's a statutory nuisance, we effectively do have zero tolerance. We've had a case only this week where someone chose to defy an EPA notice that was requiring them not to play music at excessive volumes. And sadly, they've gone to court, they've been dealt with by the magistrates, and it's ended up costing them, considerable sums of money and the forfeiture of all audio equipment within that property, which will be sold at some stage in the near future, and that will go towards our costs for dealing with the offence that's now been proved in a magistrate's court.
A teenager who was airlifted to hospital after a traffic accident near Brigg has sadly died. The 15-year-old was hit by a blue Vauxhall Astra on West Street near Scorby Primary School on Monday at 4:44 p.m. She was airlifted to Leeds General Infirmary, where she was put on intensive care, but she sadly passed away on Thursday afternoon. The driver, a 43-year-old woman from Hibblestow, was uninjured and is not under arrest. Police are still appealing for witnesses. 2 people in their 60s have been released after they were arrested at a fracking protest site in Walkington. Police say they were hampering the movements of contractors onto the Crawberry Hill site, where a 63-year-old man and a 64-year-old woman were arrested on Thursday. Members of Beverley Friends of the Earth are camped outside the site where they claim Canadian company Rathlin intend to frack, but Rathlin deny this. The man and woman who were arrested were held for around 10 hours but have now been released, and police say they are facilitating peaceful protest. East Lindsey District Council has set up a charitable trust to run its leisure, health and cultural services. It's estimated the move, approved at a full council meeting last week, could save up to £1 million over 5 years. It follows a recommendation from a special report commissioned last year to look at how to save money in these services in the face of cuts to funding from central government. Humberside Police will be focusing on raising awareness of ticketing fraud this week so people don't get caught out. They launched the warning days before Hull's FA Cup final appearance at the weekend and claim it costs consumers £3.7 million a year in the UK. In 2013, there were more than 4,500 reports, and nearly 50% of these were for flights and concerts. Police are advising people not to have a punt or take a risk and stick to reputable ticket sellers and official box offices. Detective Sergeant Mike Wood from Humberside Police's Economic Crime Unit said by promoting awareness they hope local people will not fall foul to fraudsters, although it's not a significant problem locally, he added. Hundreds of people flocked through the doors of various cultural haunts across the region for museums at night at the weekend. Special events were held as part of the national festival that gives people the chance to visit places like museums, galleries and churches in the evenings. We went along to Grimsby Minster to talk to people at one of their evening events during the 4-day festival.
Oh, it's been fantastic success. I mean, I can't believe how many people stayed throughout the whole day. You know, we started at 4 o'clock with lots of activities for the children. I was dressed as a knight with a helmet and a sword, and it's just been incredible. The support has been amazing.
I came to one last year and I think this supersedes that. I'm very impressed with the time trap. I think, congratulations to Great Grimsby.
These guys are wonderful, the whole building is lovely, and the people we've met, I hope it carries on, I hope they do more.
That's all from me. Bye for now.
Paul Fisher is with me now. He edits the Market Raisin Mail, the Louth Leader, the Mablethorpe Leader and the Horncastle News, pretty much all the newspapers in Lincolnshire. Paul, welcome.
Hi,
I'm
Hugh.
glad you've got time to come here.
Nice to be here. Nice to get out of the office.
Busy schedule by the sound of it.
Absolutely.
Also busy news for a busy week for news recently. What's the first story that's caught your eye? There's one, I think, in the Market Raisin Mail.
Yes. Front page of the Market Raisin Mail this last week. It's a sad story of a son who killed his mother. The jury were in no doubt of this. This happened in Dunno in Lincolnshire last year, and the defence didn't argue the fact that he had killed his mother. It's a sad story though, because he has no recollection of the event at all, and so the headline reads he's been cleared of murder, but he killed his mother during a violent epileptic fit. He has suffered from epilepsy for a number of years, and he had a fit last September, struck his mother during the fit and caused her fatal head injuries. So he's going to get the treatment he needs at a hospital for the rest of his life. The judge has decided.
Well, it's an interesting verdict, an interesting judgment, isn't it? Because murder, of course, is very specific. It's to kill somebody with the intention of killing them.
Absolutely. So what they're saying here is, he did not mean to kill his mother. He had no control over his actions.
Was there a lesser conviction then, if the judge has been able to insist on treatment in the future? Has he been convicted of a reckless or negligent manslaughter?
I think the verdict was killing, and I don't saying this is the exact word, but it was a killing due to insanity.
Yes.
The judge uses the word insanity in his summing up, and so he will be hospitalised for the rest of his life.
You can't be responsible for the actions you commit when you're not aware that you're committing the actions.
Absolutely. So that's why it can't be murder.
This is at Lincoln Crown Court, and it's a nice illustration of very ancient common law of murder. This is
absolutely, and a really sad case, because they refer to him. The judge says he was a loving son, a good son, and did not mean to kill his mother.
Very sad. Another rather sad one as well, in the same edition of the Louth Leader, another death, I'm afraid, but this one demonstrating quite how dangerous rural work can be.
Yes, of course. Lincolnshire is a rural county, and this is the story of a farm worker who was killed, suffered fatal injuries after going into a pen with a cow with calves, and the health and safety executive are now investigating, and the police, so we don't know the full background of what happened in that pen, but it's safe to say that will come out in time. But certainly he went into this pen and was attacked by the cow, or trampled by the cow, and flown to hospital. Other workers rushed to his aid and were injured while trying to pull him away from the cow. Flown to hospital, but sadly died of his injuries this last week.
He's a 60-year-old man, a very experienced stock worker. We think of cows as docile, sort of big-eyed, loving creatures, but what is that, about half a ton of beef on the hoof?
Very large animals. You think of the amount of power and muscle there, and of course we commonly hear of animals when they're protecting their young. Yeah. This cow had calves. These incidents can happen.
That motherly instinct is murderous,
and it's another tragic story, I'm afraid, in the Raisin Mail this last week.
One more that is not quite so tragic, but extremely irritating for all concerned, is theft of power cables.
Yeah, so the police have seen a spike. The police are asking for our help, the public's help, after they've seen a spike in power cables being stolen. And of course, in previous years, we've heard about a spike in the theft of lead from church roofs, and it's all about the cost of metal. Power cables, at the end of the day, are metal, and at the price of scrap metal, it's so valuable now. They've taken to stealing power cables, which causes a headache for you and I when the lights go out.
Well,
of course.
absolutely. Talk of 2,000 customers here losing their power, £110,000 worth of repair costs.
It's very expensive to repair, very time consuming. If you think power cables aren't exactly the most accessible thing you'd think, you've got to have someone come out and repair them and reattach.
And also not the easiest thing to fence, having stolen it. Who buys dodgy power cable? Who smelts it down? Is it turned into bullion or sold in?
Indeed, all scrap metal dealers now, to try and combat metal theft, of course, have very strict legislation and very strict licensing. So you would think it's not that easy to fence, but the fact that this is happening so widely across rural Lincolnshire, obviously they wouldn't be doing it, these thieves, if there wasn't a profit.
We'll turn now to the Louth leader and politics, high politics in Louth. The UKIP candidates for the European parliamentary elections have been visiting Louth and speaking there, and you have a lovely story on page 6 about a UKIP event that was held in Louth last week.
Yes, Louth Town Hall was the venue for a public meeting where public could come along and question the UKIP candidates for Thursday's European elections. And one of Louth Town councillors felt so strongly about what he perceived to be UKIP's views on equality that he turned up to the meeting dressed in a dress, his mother's pearls, if you will, and a bright red wig, because he felt so strongly that they don't promote equality of race, gender and sex.
This was Councillor David Hall, and I think he looks rather fetching.
Oh, indeed. So he's a fine-looking fellow in his red wig there. But obviously a much more serious point behind.
Well, yes, there is. And just in the coverage that you provided here, UKIP doesn't seems to have got away with this meeting without any of its usual outrageous, eccentric members speaking their private views.
Certainly, UKIP have some of their members and some of their backers, some of their financial backers, have come out with some interesting statements in recent weeks and months. But I think this was much more civilised event, just debating the point of what UKIP would do if they won seats in the European elections on Thursday. And
the speculation is that they'll do better than ever before, and especially in this region, in Lincolnshire and Humber and Yorkshire.
Well, particularly in this region, and I think it's fair to say that the speculation is that they will be possibly the #1 party from England, replacing the Conservatives next Thursday.
It'll be a fascinating election. It'll be a fascinating Friday morning.
We'll be watching closely.
Just want to move on to a perennial Grimsby story in the Grimsby Telegraph. This has been going on for a good 6 months now. The Herringbone crazy paving.
Absolutely,
in the town centre.
And this is featuring a woman who has not the first Grimsby resident who has fallen on this paving. The campaigners say that you can't tell the difference from where the paving end.
Paul, many thanks for coming in. Thank you very much. That's all we have time for. If you do have a story for us, please email news@estuary.tv or contact us via Twitter or on Facebook, or give us a call on 01472 315561. Until next time, goodbye.